very, very good FA Cup final. And Hatchin! What a magnificent goal!
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our 300th episode of All Things Sky Blue. Tonight, we're talking about the Oxford debacle. We'll also talk about the transfer deadline business as well, and we'll also look ahead to our future fixtures as well. Before we bring in our tonight's guest, I want to sort of get a bit of housekeeping out of the way. We're partnered by Right Steel Fabrications for all your fabrication needs across Coventry and the Warwickshire area. We're also sponsored by Sky and Friends Pet and Dog Grooming Services. We're also partnered with the Sky Blue Tavern and Dillon's Brewery. And last but not least, we are part of the Sports Social Network. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in tonight's guest, which is Cameron as usual. Cameron, good evening, sir. How are you doing?
Good evening, mate. I'm not too bad. How about yourself?
Yeah, not bad. Disappointed about the football yesterday, but it is what it is. So let's get into the game. So start the game. Frank Lampard makes his team announcement and 4 changes. Noticeably, Thomas and Kitchen, should I say, were dropped in place of Lassie Baudier and Wolfenden. Mason Clark was injured, obviously, with Romain Esse coming into play, and Rodoni was left out with Victor Torp coming into the team. What was your initial impressions of that team when it got announced?
I was fairly happy with it. I was surprised to see Thomas and Kitchen dropped. I think that was definitely a curveball. I don't know if that was a message being sent or if it was a case that he just wants to save Thomas and Kitchen for Middlesbrough. But it was definitely surprising, and I think we did okay defensively. Oxford never really threatened the goal. I'm sure that's probably by design. I think they were just looking for a counter. But at the same time, I think what got me though is although they defended well, they got a clean sheet, which is always good. A clean sheet's always good. I also think they were both very slow. There are situations where somebody's made a run where you can progress it forward really quickly. But instead of doing that, they've just held the ball and they've killed attacks. And they weren't the only ones. Grimes did it a lot too. And I think that really frustrated me because there's a few times you probably noticed Esse was just throwing his hands in the air all the time in frustration. It was because he was just making so many really good runs. It takes one good pass and he's through on goal or he's through to create a chance. And I think that just shows that is this the case where at the moment you have Esse who's coming, he's doing really well, but we're just nowhere near the levels that he is because he's making all these runs and we're just not good enough to read it at the moment.
I agree with that, Cam, because I did see it yesterday where he was making some good forward runs and unfortunately, we're opting for the safe pass. I think that was kind of the theme yesterday. I thought we did play. I thought first half, we played some good football, some incisive football, but not really producing that real clear-cut chance. I mean, I think of Frank. I think of Haji Wright, should I say, with that shot straight at the goalkeeper from a wide angle, was a good move, good passing move. He possibly could have gone out on the left-hand side. Possibly there was. I think Esse might have been unmarked in that position. I also noticed in part of tactics that Sakamoto and Esse were kind of swapping sides a little bit in that first half. And I don't know if he was trying to confuse the Oxford defenders with that, maybe. But that's something I did notice a little bit. I don't know if that was just a tactical thing from Lampard. And I thought we played some nice football, but I thought we were just too slow and too passive in our build-up. And I think that was a disappointing thing for me. Matty Grimes, had a good effort on goal, which went just wide. I think on another time that needs to go in the bottom corner. But I don't know about you, Cam. I just feel like what I'd like to see with our players, I'd like to see someone actually run at defenders, particularly in a central position, and try and risk something, try and win a foul, something like that. We just didn't see that enough, did we? Really?
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to talk about Grimes more here. I'm not deliberately trying to single him out or make him a scapegoat. That's not what I'm trying to do. But I noticed that more often than not, he's going to be sideways and backwards, the safest option. But I don't think he realizes how good of a dribbler he actually is, because there was a moment where he dribbled past 2 or 3 people. He had a shot. It went wide. You know, it happens, but it was a positive play.
Yeah.
And the reason why I was so frustrated with him yesterday, because he did that once, but he went back to constant safety again when you didn't need to be safe. And it was like, you're capable of this. Why don't you do it more often?
Yeah. Yeah, and also Haji Wright, if you remember this about second minute, he made a really good positive run. And he was pressed. I think he was actually more direct. So that's what I want to see Haji Wright do with the ball. I want him at the ball at his feet, and I want him running those defenders direct. And then the defenders, it gives them a problem then, because we want a corner out of it. But I want to see that more often from Haji Wright, and equally with Grimes. I want to see our players do that. I mean, Jack Rudoni came on second half, did that, didn't quite get the shot away, but I felt we lacked that bit of. I felt we were just a bit too easy. I don't know. Do you think it's a case where teams are coming to the CBS like Oxford? They know kind of how roughly we're going to play. We like using the flanks, and they just set their stall out accordingly, and then try and hit us on the counter attack, because that just seems to be a recurring theme week in, week out.
Yeah, I think that is the case. I don't begrudge any team for doing that, because I'm expecting to be comments of Oxford are so negative, they're so defensive, they're just putting 11 men back. I'm like, yeah, if I were Oxford, I would do the same. And the onus is on us to break them down, which we failed to do. I'm not going to blame Oxford for that. I'm not having that. The onus is on us. We have to break them down. We have to be clinical of our opportunities. If anything, I'll credit for the opposition for being hard to break down, because for them, that is a massive point. And congratulations on that massive point, because that could be big for their season. But the onus is on us. A 0-0 draw against Oxford, with all due respect to them, because I really do like Oxford as a team. I do like them. I think they are a very welcome underdog in this league. We should be beating them at home, and anything less is not good enough.
Yeah, I don't think that's no disrespect to Oxford. We've only taken 2 points off them this season, which is disappointing. And I thought the thing that was disappointing yesterday was set pieces. You look at every corner, every free kick, we didn't win one header. They headed everything away. And I guess if you're looking at the only sort of flip side about dropping Bobby Thomas, was I for one thought Lampard got it right. I would have dropped him, because I don't think him and Kitchen have been playing well. They've been making mistakes, in particular Kitchen, for the last 2 weeks, the last 2 games at Norwich and QPR. I thought he's been making mistakes. I think Thomas could have done better for the first goal at QPR. He could have got to the near post to stop Kone from shooting. So no qualms about that. But we just didn't look a threat in those set pieces. We did. I don't know. I just didn't feel confident we could score. That was my sort of biggest threat, and I thought they coped very well defensively with that. Do you think maybe looking at the game, are you surprised that maybe we didn't look at maybe trying to mix things up with corners, maybe a short corner, or try something from the routine, like writing? Because I think we're a little bit predictable from set pieces. I don't know. That's just my sort of criticism.
I actually think it's been a massive issue, because I think a big, like Immo, we were scoring so many goals. A good chunk of that were from set pieces, and we were an absolute weapon from set pieces. But something's changed. I think becoming less efficient on set pieces has actually become a big reason why our form has dropped off.
Yeah,
it's like okay, if you're struggling to create on the day, okay, that can happen. It happens to every team if they're hard to break down. But if you've got set pieces, you need to stay on top of the set pieces, and if you need to vary it up a bit. I'm not going to use yesterday as an example, because I don't think many teams are going to beat Oxford at set pieces. That is Oxford's biggest strength. So I'm not going to begrudge them too much, because not many people have beaten Kieran Brown or Michael Hellick in the air. But there's games where we should be better set pieces. We've got better aerial threats, but they're not being aerial threats. And but at the same time, that's not completely their fault. The set piece deliveries have not been good enough. Like, the amount of times I see Matt Grimes take a corner and it's not even beat the first man.
Yeah.
So the set piece deliveries need to improve. I believe Victor Torp on corners, that's been more than acceptable. I don't really have an issue with Torp's corners. They're still getting in the right positions, but Grimes's corners, they're often just too flat.
Yeah.
And they just need to be faster, but they need to be a little bit higher too, just so that there's enough momentum on the ball to get a header on it should we win in the air.
Yeah. I just thought if we'd done our homework on them, we could have tried to mix up a bit. I don't know, some pull off the near post, try and win a header of the near post, or come short, receive the ball and try and cross it in, or something different. I just thought it was a bit too safe, a bit too predictable. In terms of the second half, I thought we started the half really well. I thought the pass from Romain Esse to Torp, where he actually, it was the first real time we properly get behind that defence, pass it back. Unfortunately, there was no one in the box to score. Comes to the defender and they managed to scramble it away. That move, in my opinion, was kind of symptomatic of the day for us, wasn't it? It just felt like nothing was. And I would never criticise the lack of trying for the players, and the effort is there, but it's just the lack of quality in that final third was the biggest problem for me yesterday.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think this is where we've been missing Brandon Thompson-Asante actually, because he can make those runs, he can play in the hole, he can drift wide, he can drift into the box, he can use his pace on the counter. That variety that he brings in, and I think that's why him getting that 3-game ban, which I should stress was fully deserved, because it was deliberate. It was deliberate, but this is where we've missed him. He can make those runs. He can drift wide. He can do everything. And I think having that problem who can draw defenders away, that's something that we've missed, because Ellis Sims, I rate him as a target man, but his bread and butter is high crosses in the box, which he can head in. He's not always going to. He's not going to have the pace that Thomas Asante has. Haji Wright, he likes to collect the ball from deep and then make runs, but BTA, he's more like an all-rounder. He can kind of do everything, and I think having him missing more games has not been ideal either.
No, I think he's been a big loss, but again, that was his fault for that. He's got no one else to blame but himself. But we still feel we had the quality there, enough players out there to win. Romain Esse, I wanted to ask about him. I think he's been quite good. I think he's shown some flashes of brilliance, but I know he's been getting a lot of criticism, social media, when I was there yesterday in the stands, about sort of some fancy tricks and that. Where do you stand with him? Do you think he's a player you like the look of?
Yeah, I really do. As for the tricks, does he do it too often? Yeah, maybe, but at the same time, I'm not going to ridicule the guy for that. I do think that it is sometimes, it's a young kid expressing themselves, trying to figure out what is right to do, what is not right to do. As frustrating as it is, you've got to let these young players make mistakes. Otherwise, they will not learn. Is it frustrating? Yes, but that's why they're online. They're on loan to learn what's right, what isn't right. And when it goes well, it goes really well. Esse, for me, even despite those frustrating moments, by far our best player on the park. Because I said it earlier, the amount of times he's making brilliant runs, like those are runs that a Premier League player makes.
Yeah,
a high quality Premier League player makes. But because we're not on that level yet, we're clearly not on that level yet. We do not read it, and we just go with a safe pass, or we make the wrong pass. We make that pass, potentially he gets a shot on goal. He either scores himself, or maybe he sets it up for somebody else. If we can get to Esse's level, then yes, I think we could find our form again. Because I don't think the problem is Esse. That kid has got bundles of talent, and if we don't get it permanently, just enjoy him while he's here, because he's going to the top.
I agree with that, Cam. I think he's got flashes of real brilliance. I mean, you look at that shot yesterday, which obviously Haji Wright was on an offside position from the rebound, but it's that moment of brilliance. He's got that moment of brilliance about him. He shoots with power, and he's confident. I kind of like him. I mean, I don't know about you. Do you think he's a player, if for example, Mason Clark returns for the Borough game, is he a player that might move a bit more centrally to a number 10, maybe to be a bit closer to Haji Wright or Ellis Sims, whoever starts up front?
Yeah, it's a shout, because it's because if you notice with the runs he makes, he doesn't always stay in his natural position. He's kind of a free roamer. He'll go to the right, but he'll go to the left. Sometimes he'll go central and pick the ball up in a pocket. So I could see him being a number 10 for Borough if Mason Clark is back. He'd be on the left. maybe Tats could be on the right with essays for number 10 behind Hadji Wright or Ellis Sims, because he's got this versatility. He can be in all these positions, and then just he can make a lot happen. Will he frustrate us sometimes? Yeah, sure, because he's a young player. Sometimes he tries too hard with his tricks, but at the same time, I don't want us to coach that out of him, because those tricks are why we can have those unlikely opportunities, and those tricks are why he is so good. It's just but with being a young player, it's learning when to do it and when not to do it. Because I remember a young Cristiano Ronaldo was the same. He'd always try and do the step over the tricks. Sometimes he'd get it really badly wrong, but it's part of learning. You've got to get it wrong in order to get it right.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, and I think he'll be a really good player for us. I've got no doubts about that, and I know he's attracted some criticism from the fans, but I think give him a chance, give him a run of games. I think he'll come good for us, and hopefully he'll score some goals. We'll get some comments in a bit shortly. Thank you for all your comments. I could see a few coming in. I want to talk about Hadji Wright, that missed chance second half when he's pretty much goal bound when he hits the side netting. What was your thoughts on that one?
It's poor. I'm sorry. You can maybe forgive it if it was maybe a central midfielder or a young winger who maybe hasn't got brand product there yet. Maybe you can forgive it, but when you're a striker with a goal record that he's got with a pedigree he has, you've got to at least get it on target. If the keeper saves it, okay, it's a great save, no complaints. It's a good save from the keeper, but side netting from that angle, I think you've got to do better. And it wasn't even just that. There were two attempts which I'm pretty sure were on target, and Hadji Wright was in the way, and he blocked the shot himself. Yeah. And it's like, hang on, are you a striker for us or are you a defender for Oxford? I don't want to go too hard on Hadji Wright, because I know it's not just one player; it's got to be a collective. But it's just what concerns me is when he has an off day, it's so noticeable. Like it's poor positioning. If you're like in the way of a shot on target and you're blocking the shot and killing that opportunity, that's poor positioning. As a striker, you need to know where you are. When you're a striker, you're supposed to command that 6-yard box or that 18-yard box. You need to know where you are at all times. And if you're in the way blocking a shot that is going on target, that is poor positioning, and you've got to do better. I
think the other thing as well is there's a couple of free kicks where he gets it falls to him, but I don't know if it's just him that's the problem or the delivery, but he seems to be misjudging those headers because he's always getting under the ball and he's heading it wide. I mean, what was your thoughts on that? There's a couple of times I saw that second half.
He's never really been a great header of the ball, to be fair. I think Hadji Wright has always been better when you put low crosses to him. If you put a low cross, he can tap it in. I think that's always been a shame. I know he scored a couple of headers, but I think he generally does better when the ball is threaded through to him, or if it's a low cross. I think if you want a striker to head the ball from across, Ellis Sims is usually a better striker for that job. Yeah. I think that's just more that heading is Hadji Wright's weakness rather than it being an issue.
Yeah, sure. Right, I'm going to come to some questions, some sort of comments from our audience, and thank you everyone for your questions and comments. Please keep them coming in. I'll try and get as many read out as possible. There's been a bit of a theme from the comments, Cam, about sort of the booing from the fans after games. So I've got some comments here from Assassins Unite 3434. The Clowns booing yesterday should stay away like they used to or support someone else. Still top. Remember Yeovil 2018 where we lost 6-2. Attendance was a mere 8,000. 4 weeks later, we're promoted. Some perspective. Let me just come and move that and just find another comment. Glenn says, days like yesterday happen. I recall Bolton away versus their kids in League One promotion season. It's still in our hands. We've got here from James Hollyoak 8230. Agree we are top and fans booing and wanting Frank sacked, which is absolutely bonkers. And he makes a good comment here saying, I'm not going to watch the other channel at 7:30. It'll be so anti-Frank and Doug again. No, you stick with us at All Things Sky Blue for all the best Coventry City coverage. So let's just talk about the booing. So obviously it was quite noticeable at the end of the game. The fans were disappointed, frustrated with that. I suppose, I'm just playing devil's advocate. I think the frustration maybe not just from yesterday, but I think the fact that we've kind of been a victim of our own success. We've played exceptionally well this season, but We've going through a really bad spell. Yes, we had a couple of wins at home, but we've not really. I think our form guide the last 10 games is about 17th. We've had a couple of disappointing away results, and obviously that sort of 13, 14 point lead we had is now pretty much has been wiped out, and potentially be second tomorrow if Middlesbrough win. What's your take on sort of the booing of fans after the game? Do you think it's understandable, or do you think it's a negative? Is a negative impact?
I've never agreed with booing. I just if it's a bad performance, I just say nothing and I just walk down. So no, I don't agree with it. And I remember seeing the Yeovil comment. I remember being mad. That was horrible. 6-2. It was a game where Biama scored by rocket. But at the same time, when I hear perspective, yes, there is perspective. We've come a long way. However, it doesn't mean we can't hold players or the coaches accountable, because the standards are high now. The expectation is more. So when those expectations are now not being met because we know we're capable of meeting it, frustration comes out, and yeah, we hold people accountable because we know that they're better. So obviously tactics have been poor, performances have been poor. We're holding them account not because we think they're bad players. We do it because we know that they're better than that, and we understand it's a bad run of form. Every team goes through it, but at the same time, it's frustrating when you go through it. I don't agree with booing, because there was someone near me who was just like shouting abuse and calling the players names, and I thought that's embarrassing. That's completely embarrassing, and there's no place for that. Like, it's not like they're not trying their best. They are trying their best. It's just not clicking at the moment. I don't know if it's them. Forms are dropping off. I'm not going to say fatigue, because I think that's just not the case at all. Everyone played. Fatigue is not an issue. Just maybe there's a drop off, whether it's tactically or whether it's personnel-wise. I think it's more tactically. It happens, but the abuse at players bothered me more than the booing, because the effort is still there. It's just not clicking. And when I see abuse at players, I think that's just completely unacceptable. Yes, you pay your ticket, you pay to voice your opinion, but when it crosses the line into abuse and name calling, that's just not acceptable.
I mean, yeah, I agree with that, and I think, like, let's look at. We spoke just a minute ago about Haji Wright, okay, and you know he should have scored, admittedly, but had he have scored, you'd say he had a really good performance, because I thought his work rate was good. I thought he led the line pretty well for me, but it's just that thing. But I think the other way you could look at it is, could Lampard and the players use that as a force, as a kind of motivating themselves for the Borough game? In that, trying to turn those jeers to cheers. Do you think that it could be used in a positive way, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. Just use it as motivation. And I know that Middlesbrough got a big game tomorrow, and if they win that, they go top. But part of me thinks if they do win, maybe is it a blessing in disguise? Because yes, Middlesbrough would go top. They've got all the momentum, and you think, oh, you're going to dread it even more. But the Coventry we know, we always tend to turn up when we're the underdog. And even though we're at home, if you go off form and go off momentum, we are admittedly the underdog next Monday. And I'm just thinking, is that going to be in our favour? And hopefully it is. Because if we can go on and beat Middlesbrough, all the games that have happened recently, it's all forgotten. You've got that big win, and then you can kick on.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think we are underdogs against Middlesbrough. I think we're playing them at a time where they are riding the crest of wave. Sure, they've got a tough game at Sheffield United tomorrow, but if they come away with 3 points, it's going to be I think it's a tough game regardless of the result at Sheffield United. I mean, you kind of hope maybe they lose a couple of players. I'm thinking guys like Hayden Hackney or Morgan Whittaker, but they're going to be a good side. But at least we have beaten them at their place, so that gives us confidence. But if there was a time to bounce back, it would be that game, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Our recent record against Middlesbrough, obviously, it's a very positive recent record. But I've said before, even before the Norwich and Preston games, that previous records don't mean anything. It can all change. We can win, and I've quickly just said, and I've just quickly saw a comment from Glenn saying, "Why are we underdogs when we've lost one home game all season?" It's not a lack of belief that makes me think we're the underdogs. I think we're the underdog because if you go off momentum, it's all with Middlesbrough. Do I think we can win? Absolutely. I back us against anybody at home. But if you just go off form and momentum, you can't argue we are the underdog. But because I said with underdog, that doesn't mean I think it's a bad thing. If anything, I think it's the opposite because they've got the momentum. Maybe there's more pressure on them.
Yeah. I think they know. I mean, let's face it, Cam. They're not going to go to our place and be parking the bus like Oxford did. But what they might do is, like most teams do, is they will be fairly rigid defensively, and they'll try and hit us in the counter attack. I would imagine with Whittaker, Hackney obviously providing assists potentially. So, that they're going to be a danger. But I suppose if they commit more players forward, that gives us opportunities as well if we can counter back. So it could be a really, really exciting game potentially.
Yeah, I could see it being a high scoring game. Let's pretend I'm not going to predict 1-0 on the Tweet League, but I could see it being a high scoring game. So obviously at Riverside it was 4-2 to Coventry. I wouldn't be surprised if it's something like that next Monday. I could see it being a high scoring game. I think there's going to be goals from both sides. I think because we had so many chances at the weekend and just nothing gone in. Hopefully you get the payback of not getting as many chances, but being more clinical. And I could see Monday being a very exciting game because Borough want to win to just keep building that momentum, and we need a win just to like stutter their momentum and just get going ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, we've got some more comments in. Glenn, this is on Essie. Essie needs to learn he's playing championship football, not street football with London with his mates. He's a liability. Don't really agree with that. I get it. Sometimes the fancy flicks aren't always what we want to see. I get that frustration, but I think the guy's got quality, and you can see why Crystal Palace have signed from Millwall. I think he's got a moment of brilliance there in him, and I think we just got to stick with him. Stick with him. I think I'd keep him in the team because I think he's a match winner for us. I thought he was good. He's got a good goal at Norwich as well, so I'm not too concerned about him.
I couldn't disagree more with that statement.
Yeah.
Yes, he makes mistakes. Yes, he'll make the wrong decision. But I don't agree with the idea that he's a liability. He's a kid learning and he's doing a very good job. Yes, he's going to get things wrong, as I've said before, but he's definitely not a liability. In my opinion, in a minute, he's been our best player and it's not even close. We need to get to his level.
Yeah. I can see quite a few anti-Frank Lampard comments, which, okay, I understand to an extent, but I'm going to kind of address this myself. We've got King Carlos, GF7XT. If Lampard isn't careful, he could be sacked if results don't improve. Hopefully I'm wrong. Glenn then goes and says, do you honestly think Doug would sack Frank? What else we got? Frank is totally clueless on our best team, I fear now. He's almost got too many options. Look, I'm going to say this. I think the talk of sacking Frank Lampard is absolutely bonkers, in my opinion. Frank Lampard, for me, has done an amazing job for the football club. He's taken us, he's taken us to the top of the league. Admittedly, there's still 15 games to go. And yes, I think there's one or two things I'm a bit critical with, but I think you stick with him. I think he needs to think about maybe a different way of winning games, a plan B, as everyone alludes to. I was a little bit critical yesterday that I felt Bobby Thomas could have been utilised as a third striker, especially after that red card. But he's a young manager. I think he's doing a really good job. We were all praising him to the hills at the start of the season, and after a few bad results, people want him sacked. I think that's absolutely bonkers, and I think it's ridiculous. I don't know what your views on that.
No, I'm not going to entertain the idea of sacking him. Yes, it's a bad run of form, but I think sacking him right now would be a very, very knee-jerk decision. I don't think he deserves the sack. Do I think he should be called out on his recent tactics? Yes. I think when we're getting tactically wrong and we're not doing a lot to change it, then yes, I do think you need to call it out, and that's why it's being called out, and rightfully so. But in terms of sacking him, no, and I don't think Doug's even thinking about sacking him because one win against Middlesbrough, and we could go on another run again, and everything's all fine and dandy. I think the question of Frank Lampard's job is a question that should be asked at the end of the season, not right now. It's not even a question at the minute.
No, I totally agree with that. I think Lampard is doing a great job. I think there's still things I would like to see him change. I think we need to look at different ways of winning the games and not be so predictable to play against. But I'm hoping Lampard can learn and hopefully we can come up with a plan and work on it in training at Brighton. I just want to move on from that and talk about the referee yesterday. I see quite a few comments are quite critical of him. Obviously, there's that one sending off with Will Lancashire on a pretty, I don't know, I think we left an elbow in on Lati Baudier, but it looked a pretty reckless incident. I thought it could have been a straight red, actually, but it turned out to be a second yellow. And I think there was another incident, I think, on Brown, where he's literally grabbed, I want to say Haji Wright, I can't remember who it was now, on the neck, and I thought it could have been a second yellow. What was your view on the ref yesterday?
I mean, there's a lot of stuff I didn't agree with. If Kieran Brown did indeed grab Haji Wright by the neck, that's an instant red card because strangulation, it's a very violent act. So if that is what he's done, then yes, that is a straight red card. As for the Lancashire red card, I didn't really see it very quickly. I just saw that there was like a collision. There's like a collision, so I'll give Lancashire the benefit of the doubt and say it's a second yellow rather than a straight red. So I'll need to watch that back. But as I saw it in real time, I thought okay, if he wasn't already on a yellow, he's probably just getting booked because it's cynical. But if there's like a deliberate intent, then yeah, straight red card. But I don't think there was. But it was already on a yellow, so he had to go. And like I say, if Kieran Brown was grabbing Haji Wright by the neck, then yeah, that needs to be a red card because that is violence. That's violent conduct. But again, I didn't really see it in real time, so I would have to find some footage to get a definitive opinion. But I'm always a believer of okay, we can blame referees for questionable decisions. There's a lot of questionable decisions, so sometimes we benefit from them, sometimes we do not benefit from questionable decisions. But at the end of the day, the referee's not scoring for you, the referee's not defending for you. The onus is on you, not the referee.
Yeah, and I agree with that. It wasn't the referee's fault we didn't win the game today. That's down to us and us only. But yeah, definitely, I agree with those comments. Wanted to sort of slightly change track a bit. Lee Beckett, good evening, Lee. 3 transfer windows and we're still no stronger in that left back position. Should never have been booing the team. We would have snatched anyone's hands off at the start of the season. I mean, left back. Let's talk a bit about the transfer window. Obviously, one thing about yesterday was Onyeka was on the bench and wasn't brought on. Do you think that's a fitness thing? Do you think Lampard is trying to sort of slowly integrate him into the matchday squad? Maybe he needs another week at Brighton just to get to know the players. Maybe. Do you think that might be his thinking?
I'm not sure on that one. I think with Marcelo, the winger we've signed from Zurich, that's maybe the case because he's not played since December and he would have had a winter break. So he needs a mini pre-season to get going. That I understand. Like if he's not really available straight away because he needs to get his fitness up. He's had a long break. Onyeka, although he's not been starting regularly for Brentford, he's still been in the squad. He's still been training. He was away with Nigeria in the Africa Cup of Nations. He would have been more than fit enough to play. And I do think not playing him was a very baffling decision. All that hype, all that advertising. He was the face of the matchday program yesterday, and then he just doesn't come on at all. It's definitely a head scratcher. I would have brought him on just like if not to impact the game, at least just to like have fresh legs in the midfield. Just it definitely makes me scratch my head. In terms of Marcelo, I get it because he needs to get fit and sharp because he's not played for a while or even trained for a while due to his break. But with Onyeka, I'm not buying the lack of fitness. He was more than available.
So, with regards to Marcelo, are you surprised that we spent £4 million on a player who may turn out to be a really good signing, of course? But he's not going to be ready till late, maybe at best later part of the season, maybe not even till next season. Maybe. Do you think that money could be reinvested in someone else who's available to play right now? I mean that and did we need a right winger as well? We've got Sakamoto. You could in theory move Romain Esse to that position as well. Are you surprised that we've just brought in another winger who is probably not going to get limited game time?
Maybe. I can see why it frustrates fans when you know there's positions you need to improve on. Case in point, you could argue that left back needed improvement. Maybe we needed another centre half to give Thomas and Kitching more competition, just so they can stay on top of the game. But that's not really on Marcelo. I think if we're paying the amount of money we've paid for him, it's because we really do see something in him. We're not seeing him yet because, as I say, he's had a winter break and he needs to get back up to speed. Because I remember Victor Torp had that himself. He needed a bit of a bit to get going because how it was in Norway. They finished the season in December, so he didn't play for a few weeks. So he needed to train, and I think Marcelo has had even longer out.
Yeah.
I still think Marcelo will feature. It might be a couple more weeks away, but I could see him being involved.
Yeah, let's see what happens in that one. From what you've seen on Yeka, from what you've seen on the Africa, have you watched much from the African Nations Cup? And if you have, what do you think he brings to the team that could be of benefit? What qualities does he have?
Mainly his industry. He's physical, he's quick, he's powerful, he's got a good range of pass on him, so solid defensively, and he's played at the highest level. He's played with Midtjylland. He already knows Victor Torp because they both came through the Midtjylland Academy. He's played so many games in the Premier League. He had a loan spell with Augsburg in the Bundesliga. He's played in big cup competitions with Nigeria. I think what we're getting is a midfielder with many qualities who's played at a very high level and is arguably still a Premier League level midfielder. So hopefully he's available to start on Monday because I think we will see the difference when he's fit and firing.
And from based on yesterday, who would you come in for out of say Torp or Eccles?
Good question. I think right now I would say Torp just because I think Eccles, despite our poor run of form, Eccles hasn't been on a poor run of form. I think Eccles has done well. He's still chipped in with important goals too. I think it'd be harsh to drop Eccles unless it was a tactical change where you wanted a supporting striker as the 10 rather than Eccles as the third midfielder. But right now, if you're going to play a midfield three, I think it'd be Eccles, Grimes, and Onyeka. But I should also stress that Grimes does also need to put good performances more often because even though you are the skipper, nobody should be safe.
No, exactly. I totally agree with that. Let's move on to Loan Watch and give us the Loan Watch.
Yeah, I will do. To start with, Aidan Dalsha signed for Scunthorpe United on loan for the rest of the season. He come on to make his debut in the 56th minute as Scunthorpe United beat Southend 1-0 to go third in the National League. Aidan Dalsha had an impressive cameo. Kai Andrews didn't play this weekend because Hibernian were already out of the Scottish Cup. However, this Tuesday, Kai Andrews has the biggest game of his loan spell to date as Hibernian travel to Tynecastle to take on league leaders Hearts in a bitter local derby. Hopefully Kai Andrews' first start. A must-win for both as Hearts will want to keep their title charge going as Hibs still continue to pursue a European place. Callum Perry completed a full 90 for Rochdale as his impressive loan continues as they beat Carlisle 1-0 to stay top of the National League. Brad Collins completed a full 90 for Burton as they drew 2-2 away to Port Vale. Burton drop into the relegation zone 21st in League One. Raphael completed 79 minutes for Wigan, but they were thumped 6-1 by Peterborough United. Wigan are now 22nd in League One in the relegation zone, and that defeat has resulted in Ryan Lowe's sacking. So Raphael's future in terms of starting games for Wigan is a bit unknown because there's going to be a new manager, there's going to be new ideas. So that'll be interesting to keep an eye on now that Ryan Lowe is out of the job. Harvey Broad, was an unused substitute for Dagenham and Redbridge as they lost 1-0 to Chippenham in National League South action. David Mantle completed the full 90 for Maidenhead United as they drew 2-2 against Farnborough. Greg Sanderford completed the full 90 for Bedford Town, but they lost 2-1 to Chester. Kai Earn and Tosh Talawaju did not play as Chesham and Stratford had their game postponed. I potentially might be going to the Stratford game midweek if it's not rained off. They've got Hellzone at home, and I'm going to go there for a live loan watch. So I'll try and get some footage of Talawaju in action, and then I can send it to the All Things Sky Blue page. So you can do live loan watch posts. And finally, Norman Bissett came on in the second half with Kaiserslautern in the second half. However, they were thumped 4-0 by Darmstadt in the second Bundesliga. That concludes loan watch.
Is that game you're going to? Is that Birmingham Senior Cup match, or is that a league game?
It's a league game. They play. I believe it's the Southern Premier Central Division in the 7th tier.
Right. Okay.
They're at home. They're at home to Hellzone.
Okay, excellent. Well, it'd be good to see how he performs. So yeah, good luck to him. So let's just talk about, I guess, the fixtures ahead, as I say, as we've discussed. But Middlesbrough got 2 away games: West Brom and Sheffield United. I mean, it's difficult to say really how we're going to fare. I think Middlesbrough could go one of 2 ways. I think we could either be. I mean, I think the big thing is the crowd have got to play a massive part in that game. They've got to really create a really intimidating atmosphere. I don't think we did that yesterday. In fairness, I thought it was a flat atmosphere. I didn't think the rain helped, but we've got to be different for that game. But how do you think, looking at the 3 games with your crystal ball, so to speak, you've got Asante coming back, one hopes. He will be back in the squad at least for the West Brom game. How do you think these games could go if you could predict now?
Middlesbrough, that can go either way. I see that being a high-scoring game. I'm going to predict a win because I'm just the casual optimist. But with West Brom, that's an away game. Our away form's been questionable for quite some time now. But with how poorly West Brom have been and with how much they've been struggling, this is arguably our biggest chance to get a win away from home, which is long overdue. West Brom is probably our best chance to do that. I think Sheffield United, I think that'll be a very difficult game because Chris Wilder, while there's still work to do with that Sheffield United side, they've shown him steady improvement all the time. Bramall Lane has been a very difficult place for clubs to go to in recent weeks since he's come back for the last few months. So I'm definitely under the impression that is going to be a very difficult game. But as for Middlesbrough, that's a big game, and I'm going to back us to turn up, but anything can happen. West Brom, it's our best chance to get an away win for quite some time, and we need to take advantage of that. Sheffield United, I think it just largely depends on how we do against West Brom, because if we struggle to beat West Brom, I'm probably not going to be very confident against the Blades away just because of how good they have been at home in recent weeks.
Yeah, I'm going to be optimistic and say 2 wins out of 3. I think we can beat Borough, even though I just said that we're underdogs. But I think that might not be a bad thing. West Brom were well overdue a win. I don't remember the last time we won at West Brom. I think it's when Peter and Love scored in the 90s. If anyone in the chat's listening and wants to correct me on that, then please feel free. But I think that's when we last beat them. And I think the Sheffield United game, I can't see us winning that game. I think we'll lose. I think they're in a bit of a forced position. They've had a bad start, but I think they'll be a difficult side, and particularly Gus Hamer and Callum O'Hare. Obviously, we know all about them, of course. So that I'd say if we get 6 points out of those 9, I mean, would you be happy with that? If I offered you right now 6 points,
I think I'd be fairly happy, but I think I'd want a minimum of 7. If you can't beat Sheffield United, at least try and get a point there.
Yeah.
I think I want at least 7. Like every home game, I'm going to want to win every home game because home form is your bread and butter. But at the same time, if we were to get 4 points in our next 2 away games, I think I'd be happy with that because it's definitely a much better progression than it has been in recent months. So just need to sort that away form out. And despite the poor home result against Oxford, I'm not too concerned. I still think we're going to win most home games.
And how do you feel overall about the season generally? Obviously we've had a bit of a bad run, but do you is there signs there you're seeing that we can bounce back and turn things around a bit?
Yeah, I think so. I think in the present time, it's understandable to think, oh, we can't, and that's understandable. But when you're in a bad run of form, that belief does drop. But that's when you need to try and dig deep. We've shown we can do it. We had a really big lead. We've shown that we're capable of building these leads out. We've lost that lead, okay, Ben, there is now pressure on us, but we've got to take it game by game now. We don't have this comfortable dominant position anymore. That's our own doing, but it doesn't mean that we're going to completely bottle it. And if we do, then we only have ourselves to blame. But there's a lot of football to be played, and there is time to turn this around. We just need to believe in ourselves again. Look at ourselves, not only personnel-wise, but look at ourselves tactically. What can we change? What works? What doesn't work? Figure that out, and we can go on another run. It's not going to be easy. No, the Championship's not an easy league. Every game is difficult. Oxford pretty much let us know about that because they were very stubborn and hard to break down. Sure, but the scoring was on us, but it still wasn't an easy game. There's no easy games in this league, but we're more than good enough, and we need to start showing it again.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think we can bounce back. Does Lampard need to look at maybe change the formation as well? we played generally 4-5-1 with sort of two, attacking sort of left back, right back, Milan and Jada Silva, and obviously Sakamoto, Esse, or Mason Clark, or whoever's on the wing. Is there a case where we could maybe look at going 3 at the back, maybe for a game, or do you think that is the way we're going to play? Do you think Lampard to be quite rigid and stubborn in that regard?
I think we can still stick to a back 4 and just improve our overall play. I think our build-up play just needs to be faster. I don't really think it's a formation issue. I think we're shown with a 4-3-3, a 4-4-2, or a 4-2-3-1, or with a 3 at the back that we can win games with any formation. It's how you play. I think there's moments where we don't need to do so much tippy-tappy. Maybe be more direct. Get that progressive ball forward when there's a run there. If Esse's making a run and you can see the gap where we can thread the ball through without it being intercepted, do it. Don't be safe all the time. Don't be scared to do it, because it's there. It's there to be taken, and just trust that our ability will be able to do it. Like, what I like about Esse and what I like about Sakamoto in particular is they're both very direct. They'll get forward, they'll put a cross in, or maybe they'll go for goal themselves. Just do it more often. Okay, our main style is wing play, crosses. But at the same time, the midfielders, they're good enough to create stuff for themselves. Eccles has scored goals. Rudoni has scored goals. I think Grimes is capable of scoring more goals than he does. Torp has goals in him on his day. So I think at the moment it's just a lack of belief, and they need to try and get that belief back.
Yeah, I think it's just trying to get that one win and then try and build on it from that. I think for me, if we can get a win away from home in particular, that will give us more belief, because we haven't won since, I think, ironically, Middlesbrough. I think that's back in November. So I think that's something we've got to try and find a way. What we have been doing, I guess, Cam, is we have been scoring goals away from home. We have been in the lead quite a few times, and we've lost. I think it's about 4 games this season we've lost winning positions. I mean, it is frustration, but at least we're getting ahead. So we've got to try and draw some positives from that. So yeah, fingers crossed things will improve. Any more questions from you to me? If you want, feel free to ask me any questions if you want.
Do you think our current problems are more personnel based, or do you think it's more tactical?
I'm gonna say a bit of both. But I think in terms of the personnel side, as I say, I think yesterday I supported Lampard with the decisions of the 2 defenders, because they've been making too many mistakes. I would probably keep them for the Borough game. I wouldn't make any changes there. I agree with you on Onyeka. I think he should have started. I was a bit surprised that he was on the bench and he wasn't even utilised. So that was a bit of a surprise. I think the strikers is a bit of a Hobson's choice. I think both Sims and Wright kind of blow hot and cold. So it's a difficult one who you pick. I don't necessarily think they go well as a 2. I mean, a question I've seen a couple of times is, Haji Wright, would you play him on the wide left like he has in previous seasons, or do you think his best position is in the centre? Is it worth looking at him on the left? I don't think it is personally, because we've got abundance of players. I think Mason Clark would be a first choice, but in that scenario, suppose that Mason Clark isn't fit for Middlesbrough, would you maybe consider that change? I guess thinking about that, if he did do that, then what's the point in signing this Yang from Tottenham? Because it just seems a bit of a waste of space if we're not going to give him any minutes.
I think if you are to start Haji Wright on the left, I think you need to abandon the number 10, and I think you need a midfield 3, because Haji Wright doesn't really do an awful lot of tracking back. He's more like a wide striker rather than a left winger, and I think you need a midfield 3 who can maybe just drift left to help protect the centre half.
Sure.
In that sort of situation, so it's an option, but I think you would need to have a third midfielder just so the fullback on that side would have that protection, and he's not completely exposed to both the opposition winger and the opposition fullback on the overlap.
Sure. Yeah, no, I tend to agree with that. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I think we're going to wrap up tonight's show because I haven't got much else to bring up. I think we've covered everything there. So, Cam, thanks very much for your time tonight, and thanks everyone for all your comments on yesterday's game. So, we should hopefully have a show next week, midweek, with the Borough preview. Also, stay tuned for any announcements on that. And fingers crossed that we do bounce back. I think we will do personally. We've got the quality, and as James has rightly said here about POSB and keep the faith is the message. I think we have to keep the faith. I think as supporters, we need everyone behind the players for the Middlesbrough game Monday night. We've got to create a really, really partisan atmosphere, and we've got to roar the players on because despite all the negativity, we're still in a good position. There's still a lot of games to go, so we've got to keep fighting till the game is won. Simple as that. So that's the end of my rant for tonight. But thanks everyone again for listening, and play up Sky Blues, and we'll speak to you in the midweek. Good night.